Okay, I guess I don't know how we should start it. It just starts that way. Put on my little solar that way. And Mom is in her cozy quarters right now. I don't know, you can see this type of light here and have my little thing here, so. And that's, I guess that's over there. I guess that's, I don't know, I closed it and got these well. I don't know, and get these that way. And then I am going to do a little, I guess, broadcasting. So what I'm going to do, this is my case of nail polish here. And where did I purchase this? In the Republic of Guyana. This is where I'm lucky to still have it. And quite a variety of colors, which is pretty cool. But for now, I just have that of gold. And I kind of match it with my notepad here. And what else do I have to match that part? Probably my glasses are going to be coming soon. Now, have I prepared a table before? Probably not. Do I know that there are more shows? Probably not. It's a foolish question now. But just say I'm going to get this done today. And that's probably it. And my toes are probably needing to be done also. But it's kind of hides a bit. So I probably will wait. And get that done. And get things done. It's not to be. I'm getting in the groove of understanding that it's I guess it's called the ability of communicating with the light now, with my light, based on my loins. Why? Because I am recognizing that I have made a lot of mistakes of how it pelts and how it deals with Mom and how she needed to activate herself and how she needed to recognize these things because of the later the notice free and later of the planet. Now, is it a way of saying that it's tips and do's? It probably does, but we'll get into that later. And I have to deal with it this way. So it would say, I guess when I'm done, I probably will do that part. And when I have that type of layout, but the matines mornings is probably kind of crazy. Now, we would recognize that when it cannot be something of cannot be washed out, meaning that it's dangerous, and we find ourselves in a type of étroit espace based on how it travels, the dangerosity of the planet. And when it does that part, this type of person who was net 57 years ago had to realize it, and it becomes very brutal upon her. Now, when we get that far back in history, we would recognize that based on things here, it could say, I have to consider that for her because she peeps too much, or because she is too sucious, or because she doesn't speak, or because she puts man aside, too dangerous for that person, or she writes her dreams down, or because she cannot entertain. It does fall back to those things, and it's understanding that from every point of view. But for example, if somebody insists, I don't like it, I have decided I don't like it, and if they decide that they will not bother with it to move forward, I don't. She just probably get up and then she just doesn't. Now, if they're recognizing that they really want that friendship, sometimes it's and seeks to ignore. But I guess based on the live, it's alive. It's very difficult. Mom, she does have this type of presentation ready in the future, so deals with just stairs. So the stairs would say it is her based on that little girl, but based on her dad, she would have that, I guess, what similarity she would have that based on similarity to her dad, and basically nothing else. When it starts to warm up, shoof, we were having a little breeze. When it starts to warm up, people are seeking who am I, and you cannot know. You cannot know somebody else's line. You could face the federal investigation charges based on these things. If you're born to, I don't know, surf, go and surf. Now, when it comes to be dealing with, I don't know, the Republic of France, we cannot talk about that thing. Those things, it's personal. Do not seek to know those things. Entirely prohibited. Now, when it deals with this part here, when it has to be allowed, it doesn't say that it has to be real and when you're going to get hurt. So it just says you walk around dealing with devils, for example. I do not deal with devils. Now, is that harsh? Not at all, because you will figure out that you want these things. And when it does, what they do is take you and put you in the mental based on if you're seeking somebody's nose to be devil. So that part will say it. They don't want it in America, but I would say, well, why did you leave Africa? Why did you leave Poland or Romania? And if you're sensing that it puts them back, well, you shouldn't be asking these questions. Why would you want to insist on being somebody's friend when it's a no-go? And if you're sensing that that hits, well, that's what it's going to take for you to get away. Once you understand that, you probably will sense somebody else wants to be challenged by that part. So when you do, I'm seeing the recompense of what mental illness does. In other words, a pelt says, did it make sense? Probably not. So do not seek to make it up. Just go. Now, once those things are established and you got it, then I clap. Yay! They finally understood that part, and the girl could twirl her eyes and go. Now, I'm getting a little issue, not. I'm getting a vibe of, I'm feeling the breeze a little bit in terms of, keep doing drifting. In other words, I don't know what that is about, but I could imagine that when I peep, it could say, did we have a Bolversimo of that planetary and it wasn't doing well? No. Just like, for example, my phone. I have my A16 phone and I have my S25. S25. We have to investigate that a lot, but I think it's not going to go very far of what that S25 is. Now, once we get this completed, we'll probably have to close the United States down based on you cannot deal with what is not yours. You cannot seek the child. And oftentimes when we're dealing with the seeking of the child, the girl could, but you're not allowed to understand that part. So it would say, yes, mom probably discovered how she's hurt stout and how she has to deal with that part of her, that thing there. Now, are we going a little far? And that's what the live is about for the moment. In a type of a mental issue, what are we talking about? And when I pop it on there, this is what people seeks. Are they estimating that people are thinking? And oftentimes it's you to know that part, since you're no. So I would say, I guess it is her, and it gets to that point. Now, can it get passed based on having a conversation that is very broad? Perhaps not. So as a little child, if I'm this old, say 5, just started talking, how would she deal with it? She would kind of talk about it very light. The palm flies, for example, and the grasshopper and those night flies, and even the mosquitoes. Those are the things she would talk about and get to the same conversation today. So it portrays it that way. So this part here would actually speak about something at the end of mom life. Hopefully I'm on the right track. End of mom life of probably much more. And then she will stop there because it fits in the category of the frog. That frog in that type of the bin, the bassin, the same that your puppy used to have in France. But the grandmother, you guys did not know so, but that part wasn't there by the time I get back there, and it goes. Now, that part, no, she does not talk about that. Dodging two cemeteries is not up her slate. If she did that part, then I guess she was dealing with things when it shows. And she would do this today for the show. And then when you're dealing with things that seeks to get to you based on wrath, how she would deal with the wrath would be something of this here. That part there, she would deal with the wrath that way with her lunet. I would type of turn that part. That's how she would deal with the wrath. If it was introduced in France, then you cannot really provoke her. And how she would do the wrath in this country was just something of up, and that's the wrath. Now we know that the wrath could be very deep in terms of why are we dealing with the wrath. For example, if we have to deal with this is something that I would purchase at the McDonald's in France, and I got a little toy, and we're seeing something of this here, and that's what we will talk about, the wrath. Or if we're having an issue with this, a similarity of something of this here that lodges this way on this part here and was scienced out that way, and that would be wrath. Why? Because you could be not only blocking that type of chosen pelter from moving forward quickly in life, or being with her cubs, her children, and she gets scared about that part. You could be blocking millions of people, or people could be dying around the world. Now, based on something I've discovered in Greece, something of this here, for example, a ball, I would carry that part there, and that part will speak about this of the mom. And that part, how she will deal with this with a child, would be her tricycle. And this part here would deal with this part of her based on that type of pearl. How would she deal with this as a child? Would be her guava. And then her golden apple reveals these things about her. And then so and so now. And then she moves on. Now I guess it gets shaky, but the shakiness says that's just how she has to be able to portray these things. And leave her nose alone, and leave her lips alone, and leave this of her alone. And oftentimes it fits right in the category of how our generation starts with the 11th and 12th. No one can be invited in there. Oftentimes this of mom is right in there, obviously from the time she was born. But if she was not able to express these a lot, then it was done through this, I guess, a chair, and wherever that chair is, mom does not know. So that chair could be that of the nose of the child, and if that last portrait of Greece before this trip, then I guess the chair gets this and has to be removed. So this part would be that of her nose, so that part and contacts that part. Now when I'm getting this type of live, it means it's really a personal matter, and it demands I guess this type of presentation, and shows how these lives are done. So it says it will tell you, and oftentimes as these lives are being done, and you're getting that part there, and then as soon as she gets to a part where she can be bracked against the wall. So oftentimes if I'm with the family, it's being on the nose. So this type of dynasty based on that biological gets these things also and does it this way. So I guess who was able to pursue those things was just their noses. If that was on the other side of Guyana, and that's it. If this daughter was born this way, then it's because her nose was more pronounced, and this part of her was extremely pronounced, so it lodged here. So oftentimes when it's here, if we're seeing that part of her graduation with the pink, if the grandma wasn't pleased about it, it's because of this part here, that it's hidden in a chair. And wherever, if I do have a chair here that I purchased, this chair, it's kind of darker. I don't know if it's hidden in the Republique Française. Well, they're going to have to sense that immediate action is taken. Where is that this part of her? And if I'm seeing things that are bizarre, then it's telling them that you stole the girl's life, La France. You didn't imposter it, you stole it, and you could have seeked it somewhere in these type of pups. And when it's not being able to protrude, then it got cut. The chair, and it's not cutting, and you're waiting for this mom to get to 80 years old to face an explosion, and it cannot happen. So it could pass. No, it cannot be. Yes, it can be, but not in America. If we get a little further than that part, it kind of leads her back to the Republic of Guyana until it's appears to you when it gets to that part there, that part, that we are able to get it perhaps in charity. And if it senses any kind of resolution, it cannot be based on the dynasty and would not let so. So what would happen? Whoever holds on to the chair has to surrender the chair. Now, I will not know immediately. I am not God. But what will happen? I will find that rising. And once that rising is there, when we're beyond in the 11th and 12th, and it cards, man, from there, so by demain matin, I will first start feeling it in the nose. And once that is there, I am able to sense what part, if it's this lady, I would go a little to that part there, that separation, those type of pup. I don't know. That tree. I would say, I don't know if it's portrayed this way here. And if it's portrayed that way, then it's telling me that where this took place as a child has to be the cactus. Granny had that aloe vera. So when you are seeking these type of things, something as simple as aloe vera can. So it has to be able to be put back there so that it puts these things away from the mom, these things that are seeking to peek at her, injure her, a lot of times activate based on a simplicity that's took place today. For example, you could find this for example, if we're not getting this here, it's a massive genetic of this mom that is related to the dad, and how these things are found. And when I'm doing my nails, I kind of put these things away that way, so that it's kind of that's her genetics indeed. So the chair may go now, and what it will seek is, where is that person who seeked the lady's position in La France, and that person can be. Where is that person? That position of Phoebe. Now, oftentimes, how are you going to seek that position of her is just by cutting her whatever her fundings, and these are the things that are being done. Like every 5 minutes, you're seeking important documents to not give to her, to get her phones away, and these things just drops to her afterwards. And when it does, sometimes I don't have to walk miles. It's just that you're not used to it. You are. Go to Africa and you'll see. And then up, gone. Now, once these things are done, that person, I have to sense that you seek how to persecute yourself, and that I have to say, I have to put it in a lawyer now. So I have to plead with my family this way they're thinking, and hopefully it's not a bad way. Always sticking in the normalcy, not in our limits, as how this dynasty, up, gone, this dynasty has this daughter that she has never seen, and her loins, and not in a way of saying we have dealt with this before. Why are we dealing with it? Now we're dealing with Lee. Why am I dealing with Lee? Lizine. So it has to be Lizine, not an up. No, I'm just saying when I get these chirps, it's kind of hoo 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 ha ha ha, and goes like a fool. So it has to be able to sense that I was talking about getting my nails done. Now, I do not accept those type of blasphemies. So it says, I do not. Now, once these things are done, it would sense that I am not there to explain those things. That's part of the mental issues of the chirps and the olfactory. When it's spoken about as a child, probably dealt with something as simple as a regard, and had to sense that it has nothing to do with the human, the planet, nature. So it sends animosity, no. And then once you're seeking those the Guyanese things, this is the dynasty and not their lives. So you just have to sense that once you seek to know evil, then the evil decides. I cannot accept it, not, but I cannot blame her for these things that she had to run to do. Why are you seeking for payments? And the payments would say, I am seeking payments, and I don't. And for example, now this shakes when it kind of contradicts. In other words, because for example, this part of me could have been doing these things, and the dynasty would not allow the family. That's too overwhelming. What is this, Mom? Why am I seeing this here? So it's too overwhelming. So it just fits in. And it doesn't come with quarrels. It comes with a way of comprehending who we are this way. And once we have those things, then we're set to say, yay. And oftentimes, the part where she will deal with, I would see Granny would take me to a funeral of a lady who, I don't know, when she left her kids. I've seen it in France, so it's really and sat on the grave, and if she raised herself that way, then it's because of that Italy, it seems. And when it's that of Italy, they kind of denied the child based on that burial. And oftentimes I wouldn't imagine what took place, why they did that part, but I know I was. Now I remember the part with that's baptismal, but that 63 Beach would deal with the news. So in other words, if that daughter has to be in charity or in those territories with that type of tribe, she will have that to do so, that to do so, that to do so. And because of this type of particularity, this this type of things here is that part there. Because of that, the burial can be manipulated this way only by this type of descendant line, so that we are able to be buried, because the United States cannot do so, even the petite. Now, once that is known, that part will be investigated, and hopefully it's not a way of sentencing that animosity of evil, of which is quite ready, because you guys really think you're slick in the outside world, and has to deal with her children and how she communicates. And the girl is really not in the mood for that. She's not in the mood for that, especially with a hop and a spit on a plane. And if France has released that information, then that person will be dealt with quietly, so that you are not seeking me ever. So these type of things will continue based on how I kind of portrayed it as a child, so that we're not going past her life. I guess the problem is that we have sensed upgone, we have did that part of the girl life. What if the little child is a child? Is this completely based on this type of French boy on the coast of California, who is living a life that is very cliffy and has to go back to France and has to deal with these things based on the imposterization, based on stealing. There's Chicago, which there's a lot of Frenchies go, and many other parts of the United States when these things are cleaned out, and the provocation keeps hitting. So mom, when she got back into this country from Greece, got to Paris, had to go through this, get to Tennessee to find out what we're dealing with is something that is not this at all. So the lady, this mom, stays out of these type of things and stays out of it, and only deals with this of herself, this not. She just lives, and when she lives, she's actually getting back to that of that stairs. So whatever is in there, you cannot know. So what man, for example, would see is how she has juice. How did you know? Did I deal with juice as a little child? Perhaps not. So did I deal with this, the neighbor? Perhaps not. So it deals with who are in there. They have to live. So that milk carton could be tout à fait appropriate based on this here, and senses that when it has that part and it did those, you don't need somebody $10 per day living, because it's not working. You have to be able to. So mom, just call it a little campy. It's a little campy, and I am close, it seems, and I am doing these things as I get reacquainted with you guys, and get reacquainted with how we're going to have to deal with a situation mondial of who we are, and not alone. And this totally forbids those things, this dynasty, even to the land of Greece. So I would say yes, the burial, but I didn't have a confirmation based on before, perhaps. But this time, if I did not, well, they esteem that she should not have known it, which I have to, because of the prophecies of that land of Greece. And once it pours out and mom is able to grab it, but she seems to be sticking in the guidelines. And once she is, whatever else comes has to go. And if man seeks the conversation, that she could be telling them, you're going to the grave, get away from me. And if you're sensing, well, when I get to the grave, I'm fine. I didn't tell you to leave Malawi or Africa to come and bother me. Even the ones in Africa behaves this way, and it says I'm not getting out of it, but even you drown those type of workers. So you have to be hindered in perhaps a minute. I don't know when, but you just have to go. And these parts, you would never know that girl that she spent the day with. She is in that guideline so much that you have to say you may go a bit, so it sticks in the guideline. We even dealt with that girl's departure, and senses she is still there, so we have to clap for that part, and the rest may go. Now I would say, to get this part here, I probably would just do this. My this type of solar, it's not pronounced, it is, but it's probably not allowed to be more pronounced when it's solar. In other words, what you're dealing with is basically what you're seeing here as a solar. And when you see that solar, it kind of gets this way and sticks. So you're constantly hurting this mom, seeking the same information about whatever, what's, if it's the sun or the moon or the stars. So those type of things says that you're willing to pay a price for this, so it became wrathful. And I would not deal with at this portion completely of the United States. I probably would in a format that is not of this here, whatever it chose to be, decided to get rid of the United States completely and not chop them. The rest of the world may go, you're too presumptuous in wanting us to stay, and you're evil. Once these things are done, you're recognizing if I need to get a particular, I have to get it. So you will sense that if you shouldn't be, and oftentimes if you outdid yourself in the lady's life, then they will seek how to deal with. And the precincts, they're basically people that senses that animosity. So it sends, I would go as far as give it to, if you can, to the feds of the United States of America, and deal with your life. Now that part could deal with mom at this level, a window level, and I don't have a window. So once you're seeking a window for somebody, then there's a lot of charity places, and I am not a charity. So patching somebody's life in America becomes fatal. So this will slaughter based on if you're going to put a Negro there or there. And oftentimes I would probably say the Poles or the Romanians are this, something of this nature, instead of the Negroes, and they were homeless. So once they get that part, I would rather speak of what I know of the Romes, because I would deal with them sitting on that tomb, on that person's tomb that day. And once it registers that way, then I guess there's a lot of work to be done based on the mental of those who could not leave the land. So when it deals with Korah also, because that part, they mingle. And once they did, then they would know of Rome. Now the deceit of Rome would be a sort of suicide that seek to chop the lady for talks. And the talks could be in that window, but I would be on a video. So that will put them to detect these things, and the feds will start moving in on them. But because of the descent and extinction of the land, it does this to them and allow them to know you're a fool, you may go. Now based on that land, these things are shut in because the burial would do this to them, and leave Greece alone, and leave the Republic of Guyana alone, and France ultimately will face this, they're thinking, this here, because of that. If you're insisting on stealing the girl's life, then I will have to tell the police that I have a problem with the French embassy. If you all are seeking, then you will be stripped. Why? You know of this here. So if you're sensing that you cannot do so, then they're probably sensing that they will be pulled upon to go and serve this land. So I would say yes. Why? Because you cheated the sun, that's SUN. And if I do that part, then it kind of scrambles your thinking. So I am interested to know. In all, it's gotten dark outside, and Mom is going to yay herself a bit, and she's not indulged in those things, so she go and